Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to take you on a full tour of Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. This way you will have a good idea of what you can see, eat, and do while on board and how much it's going to cost you. This is a large ship, not the largest in the world, but it is a big ship. As you can see by all the images going by, there is a lot to see and do on board. Let's get started by going to the top deck and take a look at the Flow Rider. If you have ever seen a commercial for Royal Caribbean, you have likely seen this right here, and it's the Flow Rider. And as you can see, it's not hard to operate if you know what you're doing, but most people don't, and there are lots of falls. So for no other reason than to come and see people splash out, it is a great way to spend your time. The best thing about the Flow Rider is that it is absolutely free. They give you several opportunities to get it right. And the line is not very long. We're looking at maybe a 5-minute wait if the line is short, or it can be up to a half hour. My first pro tip to you is if you have kids, sign the waiver early. That way you'll avoid them pulling you from somewhere halfway across the ship, like if you're here in Splash Away Bay, and that way it will not interrupt your vacation. And this, what you're looking at right here, is the top deck at Splash Away Bay. The Flow Rider is at the very back of the ship, and as you can see, Splash Away Bay is absolutely huge. It takes up a lot of real estate on board. There are 2 pools in Splash Away Bay, but a total of 3 on board. We'll get to the 3rd pool a little bit later on in the program. There are an abundance of lifeguards all around. Chairs surround Splash Away Bay, so if you're a parent, you can easily look at your kids or turn around and face the ocean. And there's also multiple whirlpools so that everyone can have a great time. In my opinion, it's a great use of space. I had a great time there. You can actually spend 1 or 2 days just enjoying the time. Now, one thing to note is that it does get very busy when you are at sea, and saving chairs could be a problem, especially if you get there later on in the day. The best thing to do is reserve it earlier in the morning. Even though you're not supposed to do it, I saw a lot of people putting their towels down to reserve the space. This is the pool at night. As you can see, it takes on a glow type of atmosphere, and the most interesting thing that you can do at night is to watch a movie. Now, we have just moved on from the pool, and now we're inside, and this is the heart of the ship, and this is called the Royal Promenade, and it is on deck 5, and it is a long stretch, almost 450 feet, and it takes up a lot of real estate, and it's really surprising to see how much they can get on board. You see, it goes up several decks, so you have a great view on both ends of the enormity of the ship. There is a lot to see and do on the Grand Promenade. As you can see, at nighttime, they have lots of parties, which is what you're looking at right now. So it's a fun, groovy type atmosphere. It's where most of the amenities are on board the ship, and it is a wonderful place. I was surprised at how much they were able to get done. There are walkways above the Grand Promenade where entertainers, they stay and they dance and they get the crowd involved. And as you can see, people seem to really enjoy it. This right here is a parade, and there's about maybe 100 or more entertainers dressed in costumes with floats, and they walk up and down. It's not overly crowded. It's very well done, very tasteful, and it is really, really nice place to be, relax, and enjoy your time. You just saw images of what the outside of the ship looks like, and you may be surprised to learn that it is a fairly large ship. Just talk a little bit more about the boarding process. Getting on board was relatively simple. What you're looking at right here is the literal smallest cabin that you can get on board, and as you can see, it gives you a fair amount of space. It has a sofa, it has a bed, a desk where you can work, and it has a very tiny bathroom. And the big thing to take away from the cabin is that you have very limited space when it comes to plugs, so make sure you bring an extra charger. We left the interior of the ship. We'll return there in a little bit, and we are on the very top deck, and as you can see, there's a lot more to do than just the Flow Rider. There is the basketball court, there is a rock climbing wall, there's table tennis, there's a lot of outdoor activities. It's a great space, and it's a great use of the space. Like the flow rider, the rock climbing wall and the things you're going to see in the next few images are all very free. There's organized as well as free play activities. And one thing I was concerned about was whether or not there were going to be long lines, and there were not. And that is something that I really enjoyed. I wasn't wasting my time waiting in line to play. Now, everything that you're seeing right here, whether it's the putt-putt golf, the rock climbing wall, and all the other activities are all free. I generally like cruising on Royal Caribbean, and that's because they have pretty good entertainment option. The live entertainment is something that I really enjoy, and not only do they have it on board the top deck, but they have it all throughout the ship. Areas that you can not only listen to good music, but you can also dance and enjoy. And the people there, in my opinion, really reacted positively to the entertainment options. My second pro tip I recommend you do before getting on board is to download the Royal Caribbean app. And the reason why is because it will have a list of all the entertainment that's on board, so you can plan out your cruise. Also, you can get familiar with using the app. This is the Royal Theater, and right below the dancers that you see there is a live band. They're playing live music, and the entertainment, in my opinion, was pretty outstanding. So if you like that Broadway type entertainment shows, you're going to enjoy your time on board. This is an ice rink on board. Again, this is a large ship, there's a lot that they can fit on board, and this is in a completely different location on ship, not in the Royal Theater. Just give you an idea of the size of this vessel. The content of my channel is my own authentic experience. The best way that you can support me is to simply hit the like and subscribe button. We are going to now switch to food. And food is a big thing. It's one of the reasons people love coming on board. The average person on board a cruise ship gains a pound a day. And this is something that, again, that people really enjoy. So I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about the variety of food that they offer and also the quality. Now, this is mass-produced food. So if you're looking for something that's gourmet and you have really sensitive taste buds, you're probably going to be pleasantly surprised. The food here is pretty good. No matter what your palate is or your diet restrictions, they have enough food and enough quantity to satisfy it. Now, as far as the quality, how it tastes, I was with a group of, say, 42 people, and in polling those people and just talking to passengers, most of the passengers enjoyed the food. So if you are looking for good food, again, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. All the images you just saw was in the main buffet. It's called the Windjammer. However, there is a main dining room area, and it's really spectacular, and that's what we're gonna go to next. But if you're a coffee lover, they're gonna have decaf as well as regular. And if you want to have sodas, that's an additional cost of about maybe $12 per day per person. Another thing I enjoyed while on board was the variety of seating arrangement that they had. That way, if you had a big or small group, that you were going to find something that fit your size. And seating and eating is a way that you reconnect with the folks that you're sailing with. It's a way that you can plan for your next activity and just enjoy each other's company. So the seating arrangements, in my opinion, was something that they really got well. When it comes to the staff service, I just thought it was okay. It wasn't anything per se to write home about. I've seen better service, but the staff service wasn't horrible. The main dining room is absolutely spectacular. It goes up 3 different levels. There's a lot of people that they can fit in here. The best seats in the house, in my opinion, are the ones that are going to be closest to the windows. That way you can look out and see the water as you eat. There is a variety of table settings. I definitely recommend, if you want to eat with the group that you're with, make sure you arrange that either before you get on board or the first day that you are on board. The quality of your dining experience when it comes to staff service really depends on the waiter that you have. If you have a great waiter, you're probably going to have a better time. They're going to make great suggestions for you. However, sometimes you can get somebody who's a bit inexperienced, but for the most part, when I'm talking to my group, they enjoyed the quality of service that they received. And as you can see from these images, the main entrees, appetizers were pretty nice. The food overall quality was small, but I thought it was very tasteful, and the quality was good. Upwards of 80% of what you see in the menu at the main dining room is included. However, you can order specialty items like lobster, which will cost you like an extra $30 or so. Some cruise lines have the waiters either sing a song and do a dance. Royal Caribbean had us walk around. However, the way the room was designed in the main dining room, it didn't quite flow very well. There are other places to eat as well other than the Windjammer Cafe in the main dining hall. This is Sorrento's. There's also El Loco Fresh, which is on the main level on the outside next to the pool deck. All of these options were really good. I thought the food was exceptional. There's also additional paid option like this right here, Johnny Rockets and other locations on board that will serve you not only just food for, say lunch, but also dinner. This cost can range upwards of $30, $40, sometimes $50 extra per plate. The overall quality of the food that you'll have in the specialty restaurants are going to be a little bit better than you would get in the dining room. However, in my opinion, the quality of the food in the main dining room was so good that I don't think the special restaurant is something that you need to do unless you may be celebrating something like a birthday or some special occasion. For some ships, getting around is awfully complicated. However, I didn't find it to be the case in this ship. There's essentially 3 decks that you want to spend most of your time. There's a very top deck that has all the water park and the water sports activities. There's a 5th deck that had the Grand Promenade that we explored a little bit earlier. And then there's this level right here, which is the 4th deck. It has a player sports bar and arcade. With the exception of the arcade, everything you see just right now is absolutely free. It is a great place to come and watch a sporting event, hang out and watch television. It usually is pretty full, especially in the evening hours. So it has a sports club type atmosphere. It's both adults and kids that mix together. And it's a family cruise ship, so you're gonna find a lot of families on board. It's a great way to play games and enjoy your time with your family, loved ones, and perfect strangers. We are still on the 4th deck, and this is Casino Royale. It is a large casino in my opinion. It has a ton of table games as well as slot machine games. It was usually, in my opinion, pretty full, and I really enjoyed being here and playing. One person in front of me won as much as $5,000 at one of the slot machines, so there is a possibility that you can actually win something while on board. With the endless food on board, it's going to be very tempting to overdo it. The good news is that there is a running track on board. It's not very big, but it is, in my opinion, a decent sized running track. There's also a fitness center. There are exercise classes. This is comes at an extra cost. And there's also a very well equipped gym. The gym was large enough and adequate, in my opinion, for the size of the cruise. So I never was in there and felt like it was overly crowded. The great thing about the treadmill is that it looks out onto the ocean, which is something that I really enjoy seeing. The ship can hold as many as 4,500 passengers, and a lot of those are going to be kids. And the reason why is because it's a family cruise ship. When my group sailed, the ship was completely sold out, and we were in the middle of the school year. So that means it wasn't as many kids on board as, say, maybe during the summertime. However, still, it was about 1 in 3 passengers who were under the age of 18. If you're sailing with a child, someone under the age of 18 years old, there's lots of options that you have that they can do teen as well as kids club activities that are all provided free of charge by Royal Caribbean. However, if you want to get away from those kids, there is an adult-only area, and this is it right here. It has its own pool chairs, its own whirlpool, its own lifeguard. It has a bar, and it is an oasis to get away from, say, maybe some of the kids on board, especially if you want a more adult experience. Most of the people on board were focusing on having and enjoying a great vacation. However, some people had to work. So let's talk about the phone usage and overall internet coverage. It's pretty good. Many years ago, the phone service was bad and spotty, but the phone service overall in most portions of the ship was fairly strong. So phone and internet was not a real concern. If you like to consume alcohol, there are as many as 22 locations, bars, and places on board where you can buy a drink. Drinking on board can be expensive. Drinks can cost as little as $8 or as much as, say, $15 or $20. You can order a drink package, and that package is well over $100 per person. So the bad thing about the drink package, if you have a group of, say, 2 adults, 1 drink, 1 does not, you have to get as many drink package as there are adults in your room. It can be easy to get lost and confused while on board. One of the great things I liked about this ship was that it had a lot of mechanisms and ways, interfaces that you can connect to make sure that you knew where you were and helped you to understand where you were going. The interfaces that they had were easy to use, they were abundant, they were all over the place, and they were accurate. There is a fair amount of shopping that you can do on board, and one of the things I enjoyed was that they weren't too pushy. I hate when they try to sell things and force it down your throat, but I really didn't feel pressure to buy anything. Here are a few things that you may want to know about the ship. It was launched back in 2006, and back then it was the world's biggest cruise ship at the time, until the very next year in 2007 when it was beat by its sister ship launched by Royal Caribbean. So far, we have only focused on 3 decks, and that's because that's where most of the activities happen. However, there are a total of 15 passenger decks, and there are 4 crew decks that's below the waterline. I did mention that this ship was built or launched back in May of 2006, and you may be thinking that this is a fairly old ship, but it went through a major refurbishment, and that was back in 2020, and it received a $116 million upgrade. So when you look at the ship, it looks fairly new, it looks fairly crisp, it was a very clean, it's a very well maintained ship, and it was very well appointed. You're not going to be disappointed with the quality of the workmanship on board. The time that I was on board this ship, it was absolutely sold out. It can hold as many as 4,500 passengers. Now, the good thing about being on board at that time is that it doesn't feel crowded. That's not to say that it felt empty or small. It was really adequate for the size of passengers and the amenities that it has. It was a well-balanced ship. You may recall that I said earlier that the average person gains a pound a day while on board a cruise ship, but that doesn't mean they're sitting still. In regular life, the average person walks between 4,000 to 5,000 steps. However, while on board the cruise ship, you can expect to walk as many as 10,000 steps per day, and that's on a light day where you're not necessarily doing excursions. I say all that to say this. Most of the time while you're on board, you're not going to be walking. You're going to be sitting down. So the relaxed areas are going to be very important. And in my opinion, Freedom of the Seas has a tremendous amount of relaxations. What you're looking at right here, these egg type cubicle things, are absolutely free. There are cabanas that are for rent on board, and you see them in the distance there. However, in my opinion, those were not used very much at all. As you can see, if you want to work and come and relax, you can sit here in this area and look out at this water park, and you can just enjoy your time while on board. And that's one of the things that I look forward to on board, because some days I have to work, and I want a space where I can sit down and relax and just enjoy the view and enjoy being on board a cruise ship. The cabanas do cost extra to rent. However, in my opinion, I didn't see many people using or renting the cabanas. So if you're thinking about renting one of the cabanas you're going to see in just a moment, I would think not. I think there was plenty of seating available all throughout the cruise ship. Renting the cabanas at one of the private islands, those are usually all sold out. However, while on board, I hardly saw anyone using them. That's because there's plenty of places to relax. If you have mobility issue, let's say you're wheelchair bound or maybe in need of a scooter, there were plenty of folks that I saw that were in scooters while you were on board. So getting around, even in crowded spaces like we're here in the Players Club, is not going to be a problem. Where you will find a problem is the elevators. There are 14 passenger elevators while on board. However, I found that if you thought that people were going to be courteous and allow you to get on board the elevators during the busier times, I found that not to be the case. When it comes to the elevators, overall, they were a great workable hours, except in their dinner time when everyone was trying to get to the main dining room all at the same time. As I mentioned earlier, the ship was exceptionally clean, and that's in large part and entirely due to the staff that they had while on board. There were plenty of people that I saw constantly cleaning, and they do an excellent job of keeping the ship looking in absolutely tip-top shape. Most of the people that are on board are not going to be Americans. In fact, there were no Americans that were part of the staff while I was on board. So you can expect people from all over the world speaking a variety of different languages. With so many foreign-speaking staff on board from all over the world, that can lead to miscommunication and at times communication breakdown. But overall, if English is your primary language, you're going to be in good shape. Whenever I evaluate a cruise ship, I usually always answer two very important questions. Number one, is it worth your time? And number two, is it worth the money? The ship is a surprisingly large ship. It went through a dry dock back in 2016 and it's clean, it looks new, it is in exceptionally good shape. It usually sails out of Miami, Florida and goes to portions of the Caribbean. The prices are very affordable. In my opinion, it's an excellent value for the money. I'll give it two big thumbs up, both for price and also for is it worth your time? Absolutely yes.